Today we're reading Ezra chapter 7 through 10. Interesting chapters. These events are what took place after the exiles returned back to Jerusalem after having been in Babylonian exile for 70 years. And so when Ezra comes to town in chapter 7, they have a series of problems to deal with. In chapter 8, we get a listing of the people who returned. Then they decide they need some guards at the end of chapter 8. But then it gets, well, sort of bizarre by today's standards, when in chapter 9 they declare that if they're going to get God's blessings, they need to not marry any more foreigners. In the Old Testament, in the law of Moses, there were prohibitions on marrying certain people. Well, they decide that they violated that, and they need not to do it anymore. But then it even gets a little more peculiar. In chapter 10, they decide that since some of them had already married wives on this prohibition list, that these wives must go. That's right, these wives must go. And it's kind of interesting that they include, for instance, Egyptians. Egyptians were not originally on the original prohibition list of marriages. So they just wanted to get it exactly right. And then in chapter 10, beginning in verse 18 down through verse 44, they actually list the violators, those who had married people that they said were taboo. Interesting reading today. I think you'll get some enjoyment out of reading today's passage, and we'll see you tomorrow.